Okay, let's get into Transpose Master. So for those that do not know or are unfamiliar with Transpose Master, 1, you can find it up here in the Z plugin menu. You say Z plugin, it's a plugin, it's not a plugin. It comes default with ZBrush. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna load up your 3D model in ZBrush. Here I have a simple block out that I created during our live stream just a moment ago. And you can see it's made up of 2, 4, 6, 7 subtools. 8, I lied, 8 subtools. I'm very smart and can count to 8, I promise. With these subtools, please notice a couple things. We have a head, we have a peck. So we have some subtools that are comprised of multiple pieces of geometry. So this is a subtool for the arms. It's composed of 3, technically 6 different pieces of geometry mirrored. We have the legs down here, similar story, 4 or 8. He's got the donk, he's got his body, his belly, all his different pieces. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into Z plugin, we're going to click on T-Pose Mesh, that button on the left. It's gonna do a little calculation again, T-Pose Mesh, this button on the left, up there. And you can see it's combined all of these pieces of geometry here into one thing. So before I do anything here, I'm gonna make a recommendation for you guys just to save you a huge headache later on down the road. Go back to the Z plugin menu, Transpose Master, and click on T-Pose Sub T. This is going to resend everything back to your original subtools. Take any changes that you made. In this case, we didn't make any. But what this is going to do is it's going to save you a huge headache if you have any errors that are going to stop Transpose Master. So there are a lot of different errors that can happen when you do this that can be unseen. So if you have geometry that's hidden and you make a bunch of changes to your mesh and send it back, anything that had that geometry hidden is not going to make those changes. So you can see that the head did not change from that. And you are going to be extremely frustrated when you spend multiple hours working on something only to have it not take effect at the end of you spending a lot of time probably, making those changes. So let's get in and talk about what Transpose Master is actually good for. So here is our T-Pose mesh, and actually we're gonna delete that one, we're gonna redo it. So you wanna send that back just to make sure you don't have any issues. After you do that, let me grab them. Just gonna redo it, resend it, recreate a new one, make sure we're all good. Just gonna turn on symmetry, and this is a great tool for a lot of different things. If you've seen any of my videos, you know I like to use this for proportional changes. So for instance, if I'm like, these arms are big, I love how big these arms are. Let's make them bigger. Like, let's exaggerate that even more. That's such a cool aspect. Let's see, what else can we do? We can take the body and we can start to make that maybe shorter, more squat. We can start to round things out. All sorts of different changes. You can make extreme changes in here. Like, you can really fiddle with stuff. It doesn't matter. Like, I want to keep things relatively clean here and somewhat reasonable. Like, we can make the head a lot smaller, which makes him feel bigger. A smaller head on a character makes the character feel larger than life. Or he's towering over us, right? And then you can also use Transpose Master for posing. So I'll often use Transpose Master, to pose a character. I'll just grab that again. So if I'm starting to adjust and make some changes here, and I'll just, do some real quick adjustments. Here, I'll actually have to do some stuff. Notice a really nice thing is we have polygroups, so these are from the different subtools. You can also create custom polygroups in here, which is what I just did. I used one of the polygrouping features, which is called auto groups. In this case, I'm just gonna, rotate one of the legs out, move it forward, we give them something to step on or stand on, whatever. A lot of different things. Here, we can, take this, we can rotate his body, play with different stuff, rotate the head, Oops, not that. Bad example. You know, twist things around. You know, and all of a sudden we have them like, wow, punching us in the face, punching the camera. You know, and maybe like we're not afraid to you know, break things a lot, so we're like, whoa, we're gonna exaggerate that like fist coming towards us. Whoa, that's so cool, right? All right, so now you're done posing your character, you're done making your proportional changes. You go back to the Z plugin menu, and instead of clicking on T-pose mesh, you send it back with the T-pose sub T, and it's gonna go back to all of your individual tools, and well, bam, it's super fast. Look how fast that is. And now you're back here, and now you can go back to sculpting and working on this. Obviously, we have broken symmetry here, so we would need to take some time to, you know, start cleaning things up and blending different pieces together. But this is the basics of Transpose Master and how I like to use it for my work. It does feel really terrible when you are working on something like, I know I spent like 30 seconds to a minute doing these quick changes, and I remember learning ZBrush and being in situations where I would be spending like 3 hours, you know, in Transpose Master, and then go to send everything back, and it just all breaks and falls apart. So another tip for you, if that, you know, you're afraid of that happening, take less time in Transpose Master. So send it back every, I don't know, make an arbitrary rule for yourself, whatever that is, 10 minutes, doesn't matter. You can also save these out, save these models out, and as long as the model name is the same, in this case, T-pose 4, PM3D, Sphere 3D, blah, 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 blah. As long as that name is the same, it should T-pose back to your geometry. I don't recommend doing that, personally, because there are a lot of things there are even more things that can go wrong doing that. So I recommend instead just T-pose, send it all back, then save this model, save this save this Z tool. Don't try to save in the middle of a T-pose. You're gonna regret it a lot. Yeah, there are a million like little pitfalls, and that's why, you know, 3D software, it's complex. It really is very complex, and a lot of people, I think, come into something like this expecting it. I don't want to say expecting it to be easy, because I don't think that's true. But you don't know what to expect, right? You just really have no reference point. So then you get in and you're like, wow, this is so tedious, or there are, you know, a million, it seems like almost arbitrary things that can go wrong. But once you like use it a lot and learn it, a lot of stuff does make sense, like why it is the way it is. There are some things that I've been using this for, like I said, a long time, and there's a lot of things in it that I'm like, okay, this does not need to be this way. But for the majority of stuff, I would say I'm really happy with the way like ZBrush is set up. I know it's a really steep learning curve, and if you're new, you might not think that. Whatever you're sculpting in, sculpting's hard. Sculpting's hard, guys. So just keep that in mind, and, you know, be prepared for the marathon, not the sprint. I use Transpose Master at every stage. So during the block out, I'll use it for proportions, and I'll use it maybe during, like, you know, refinement. Do I have a let me see. Let's go back here. Let me open up my art station. So I'm just gonna grab an example. Here, let's see this character. So this is a character I sculpted 10 months ago. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. So I used Transpose Master when I was blocking out this character to work on proportions more. While I was creating the jacket, I probably used Transpose Master because it's actually made of like 6 different parts, and I'm like, wow, I don't want to move each of these one at a time, so Transpose Master, I'm going to move them all. See the slight pose with the leg out, the body tilt, the head angled out, Transpose Master, posing the character, moving all those subtools at the same time. So, you know, any point where I'm like, I need to move multiple subtools in an organic way that is not that is not like a quick move. So for example, we'll grab the 3D gizmo. Everybody is probably familiar with the transpose all select subtools option here. This is something that you can use to select multiple subtools, although I'm blanking on actually how you do this because I don't use it very often. And instead what I do is, because I don't normally select arbitrary things, new folder, arms, hands in this folder, and then what I would normally do is click on the transpose set option with the gear. Let me reset my 3D gizmo. You have to hold Alt to do that, and then you can move, you know, quickly and easily move or scale multiple subtools that way. So that's what I would call like an inorganic quick move, you know, that you don't really need that for. But even for something like this, I might consider just using Transpose Master, because it's super fast and it's a great way to like discover if you have a weird error in your geometry, like I showed that test process earlier.